Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for Better Call Saul, Season 4, Episode 4. Alright, so another really good episode this week. Honestly, really good. I do think that last episode was a little bit better. So my kind of grading scale is probably like worst to best is probably episode 1, episode 4, this one, and then episode 3, episode 2. So episode 2 I really enjoyed. Last episode I really did enjoy that one as well. That was pretty close. And this one, but I mean they're all great. Like they are all really great episodes here so far for the season 4. And we're almost at the first, done the first half of season 4. So it's gone really fast. And that's 5 weeks already. So it's pretty crazy. But anyways, so yeah, I did really like this episode. There were a couple things that I just really didn't understand. Mainly Kim, her whole part in this episode, I just really didn't get at all. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention closely enough or something like that, but I really was confused about that. But Mike is back finally. I've been harping on that the last couple of weeks, the last 3 weeks. Like he was in episode 1 quite a bit, but not a huge role. Episode 2 I believe he had like 2 scenes, and episode 3 he had 1 scene, right? And so I was thinking, like, where is Mike? He's a pivotal character in the first 3 seasons, and now he's kind of fading to the background in these first 3. But this episode he is back, and he is better than ever. So that was really great to see him in this episode. That was honestly like the main focus for me, is just like, let's see Mike, right? And so we got to see it. So that was really good. Anyway, so we'll go through a recap here, kind of a detailed one, and then we'll get to a rating, favorite character, and some more overall thoughts of the episode. Let me know what you thought of this episode, and thank you for tuning in to the review. I'm hoping to get these out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays going forward every single week. So yeah, please come back and check each one of them out each week after you see the episode. I really appreciate it. So anyways, let's get into the recap. So we start off this episode. So we actually start off with there's a little bit of a kind of a montage that Mike has, right? And that's I guess him kind of remembering him as Maddie when he was a kid, and then he's making this kind of sidewalk piece, and Maddie writes his name in it before it dries, of course. And so we get that little scene there, that kind of like teaser bit before the intro, right? And then the intro plays. And then later in the episode, we actually see that moment kind of link up where we see Mike in the therapy session, right? In that group, right? So that all connects later, but kind of where the episode started, right, is when Jimmy gets a call as he wakes up. So he gets a call about another job that he got. So it turns out that he got a ton of, like, not a ton, but he got some of the jobs he actually went for. He just isn't accepting them, right? Like he told Kim, things didn't really work out, but he just doesn't want them. He just doesn't want to accept them. So he gets a call. It sounds like a really good offer, right, for this job, but he refuses, right? He says his plans have changed and he can't take the job. But then when Kim comes to talk to him about that, and she gives him this card, like a guy that's a therapist that he should go and see, right? And because of that, what happened in that last scene in last episode with him reading the letter and his reaction to that, so that was kind of what led Kim to kind of suggest him going to a therapist, right? And so, he just right away, he just kind of defends himself here, and he lies to her and says that he is doing the job that they just called for, so that it kind of seems to her, that he's more on track with his life than he really is, if you know what I mean. Like if he found a job and he's kind of, getting income now, maybe Kim will think better of him and think that he won't need to go to therapy. So, he's just really playing Kim in this moment, right? Lying to her, and even lying to himself, really. I mean, at the time, right? So then so then he says, I thought this was worth noting, though. He says to Kim, poof, 10 months from now, I'm a lawyer again. So he just says, he sees this stuff as just a short-time job, get some money, and then he'll be back as a lawyer. So I do feel like that was noteworthy for sure, him saying that, because, we know for sure, well, we know that he's going to be a lawyer again, right? But we know that he has that drive to become that again, once the suspension is over, right? So then, right when Kim leaves, he calls them back and asks for the job again, right? Because I think what happened here is because he lies to Kim in this situation, right? And then he figures out, well, I'm not going to get away with this lie, right? So I'm going to actually have to take the job, even though he doesn't really want it. And so, anyways, so he asks for the job again. They give it back to him, and that's what it is. So that was the start of the episode per se. So then this whole part with Kim, and I just felt like it was like really confusing and really prolonged. I just really didn't understand this part, but anyway, maybe you guys can help me out. So Kim attends this the courtroom, right? And he's saying she sits in on a judge's hearing, and it seems like she knows the judge, right? Because she asked the one of the security guys at the entrance, and she asked, what's going on in the court today? What can I go and see? So I think that she knows who this judge is, right? And she goes and sits in on the hearing. So then he calls her into his chambers to talk, right after the kind of hearing is over on the recess. So she goes into his chambers to talk, and it was just a really awkward conversation. I just really didn't understand it. I mean, it was like the judge was making up some case to her, and then she figured out it was like the plot of a movie or something like that. And then he said, I see you again in my courtroom. I'm going to have to put you to work, right? And it just seemed like he was kind of, he didn't feel too positively about Hamlin, Hamlin McGill or whatever. And then when she said that she doesn't work for them anymore, his reaction kind of changed. So I just really do not understand exactly what all happened here. Do they know each other in the past? Because at some points it felt like they did. It felt like they kind of were like old friends. And then at some points it felt like they had no idea who each other were. So it was kind of odd. But I think he does know her name, so, I mean, maybe he's just, been the presiding judge on some of her cases, right? Like, that could be possible, too. So anyway, so then after the recess is done, he goes back to the bench for the next case and sees Kim sitting there once again. So after he just told her, if I see you in my courtroom again, I'm going to put you work. So does this mean that Kim wants work from him? Is that why she's sitting there again? So just kind of a weird sequence here. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe she's overwhelmed by Mesa Verde right now. And I still think that scene last week's episode was also showing her kind of becoming a little anxious about her job security with Mesa Verde. If they're going to expand like this, she's not going to be their only lawyer. There's no way that she's going to be able to look at over all of that. Or are they even going to keep her on if they expand that big, right? And so maybe she's already like trying to find other things to do. I don't know. I really am not, I can't really say anything about that, but very interesting little sequence there with Kim. And that was her whole part in this episode. So, so that was pretty much it. And then we get Mike. So Mike is back here, back at the diner, of course, where he always is, right? Him and Fran. I swear he says, thank you, Fran, like every episode. Well, he's at least said it the last 2 episodes. But anyway, so he talks with a lady from the therapy group he attends. I did recognize her, but I have no idea what her name is. And, I don't think we've seen her, since like early season 3. I don't know, maybe before that. I'm not really sure, but I did recognize her. And so anyways, he tells her that one of the group members is lying about his story. And she's like, what? Well, why would some guy lie about his story and come to our sessions, right? And so he's like, well, I'll put $10 on it that he's lying or whatever, right? So this is kind of an interesting scene, and this comes back later on in the episode. Right now, this didn't really mean much, right? But later on, it does. So then we see Jimmy is at his new job, CC Mobile, right? And so he gets to work, right? And he's the only one there. So, like, they pretty much gave him a supervisor job. That's what they call it. And he quickly learns why, right? Because his location that he just got hired at, who's pretty much in charge of that location now, never gets any customers. The place is dead. He calls the guy, I guess, who gave him the job, or the boss, calls him. And he says, oh, yeah, there's usually no one there except for stock weeks or something like that, and you just missed it. So, anyway, so Jimmy's kind of in an unfortunate place here. He finds out that's probably the reason that he got the job, right? And well, that at least that he got the job so easily, right? And then he asks, well, can I switch locations? And the guy's like, no, you kind of have to stay there. So, anyways, Jimmy's kind of gotten himself in a little bit of a heap of trouble, but... Or not a heap of trouble, but just kind of a really bad situation, right? But honestly, I mean, it's boring, and I mean that's totally, yeah, Jimmy is that kind of guy who's really energetic. He actually wants people to come in and talk to them. He's not one of those guys who would, just open a newspaper and sit there the whole day. He needs something to do. And so for Jimmy, the situation is pretty bad, right? But for maybe some other people, they wouldn't mind just kind of sitting there for a few hours on their shift and doing nothing, pretty much, right? So anyways, so then this was probably my favorite scene of the whole episode here with Nacho and the twins, right? So Nacho and the twins go in this truck, and they show up to this motel like compound type of place here that we saw Victor and his guy, or I guess Gus's guy, deliver to earlier. So we saw this at the very beginning of the episode. Well, I guess right after the intro played with Mike there, and so we see this guy Victor and this guy kind of deliver the drugs to this guy at the motel compound, and so this whole thing is just to set up further this whole Nacho thing to cover it up. And I'm going to share some more thoughts about that later on. But I do kind of have a little bit of a gripe with this whole Nacho thing. But anyways, and so they go back to this motel compound. I knew it was going to come back. I knew they weren't just going to throw that random scene in there in the beginning. So Nacho identifies the car that's parked there as the one who hit Arturo and him. Obviously, that's not true, right? It's obviously a lie. But the twins believe it. And, well, it just seems realistic, right? Like, the whole way that this was all planned out by Gus and his guys and Nacho, it makes sense, right? So, of course, the twins are going to believe it. So, before Nacho even finishes his sentence about, what plan, like, he's, thinking of a plan. He's like, okay, we'll get these guys, and then we'll do this. And before he even finishes his sentence, the twins, I love this. The brothers, they just look at each other, and they're out of the car already, right? Like, they're out of the car with, guns loaded, and they're ready to go, ready to take them all out themselves. And they really have no fear. Like, honestly, like, these guys are such badasses. Really ruthless, obviously, too. So, anyways, they go in guns a-blazing, right? And they leave Nacho in the truck. It was almost a little bit, comical, actually, the way this all turned out, because they just walk out, with their, guns a-blazing, pretty much, right? And Nacho's just kind of sitting there in the truck. He's like, well, what the hell? Like, what do I do now? Right? So it's just a little bit, kind of a funny little thing there. But then Nacho, like, pretty quickly realizes what they have just gotten themselves into, right? Like, maybe this isn't going to be as easy as it seems, and he watches as another truck pulls up with more men coming back to kind of fight them, to hold them off. So, he kind of freaks out here, so he actually gets out of the truck to help them, because he figures that something bad is going to happen with all of these guys coming back now, and of course, he's still injured, though, right? So, he can't even really fire a gun properly with his injured shoulder, right? And so he uses, I think, his legs to, cock the gun back, and even, be in somewhat of a shape to go and help them. And he really isn't. Like, he really shouldn't be doing that. And that's also why he starts bleeding, after that as well, because of all this, rigorous, action that he does in this sequence. So, anyways. So he gets out, and he's walking towards the compound then, and he actually does help out, though, because maybe if he didn't do what he did, and he goes and guns down this man waiting by the entrance, right, and if he didn't do that, who's saying that one of the brothers may have got shot by this guy, right? They wouldn't have seen him. And so anyways, so Nacho did come up pretty clutch here for the brothers and just the whole situation. Right, so he guns down the man at the entrance, pretty badass, right, because he is, in a lot of pain, and he's barely even able to pull the trigger, really, and he's able to do it. So then he gets into the main compound area. We kind of follow him in there, and, the music is playing. A really intense scene here, because we don't know what's happening when he turns that corner. So that was really great in this episode here, or in this scene, sorry. So he sees that the one brother is stuck inside the building with men firing at him, right? And they're, telling him to come out, it's over, right? And so it looks like, the brother's kind of at a loss here, and the men may actually win this, right? And so Nacho is like, all right, well, I got to do something about this. I got to save him. So just when he musters enough strength to kind of stand up and, point the gun at these guys, the other brother comes up and kills both of them right behind them. And the bullets, I think, even, hit Nacho as they're kind of falling out of the gun after being fired. And so Nacho's just kind of sitting there. So that ends the standoff. The other brother here kills the remaining guys, and it was really great. And then the other brother kind of walks out as the smoke kind of rises out. So that was a really nice cinematography piece there. And I just really thought, Breaking Bad fashion, right? Like, this is exactly how the brothers operated in Breaking Bad. And to see this happen now was really great. It was really awesome. So just like that, the Salamancas think they are even. So they think it's all over. They think they got the people who killed Arturo, but obviously they didn't, right? They didn't get the right guys. So, anyways, and I really don't blame the brothers for believing this whole thing, because I think it was really believable. And, yeah, so I think Gus is just, smart, right? I think that's what to take away from this. I don't think the brothers are dumb or gullible or anything like that. I just think Gus is, 10 moves ahead, right? Like, 10 moves ahead of them, in everything that's going on right now. So, anyway, so Salamancas think they're even now, and everything's kind of over. The dust settles, right? And they take out basically this whole group too. So like, it was quite a lot of men that they took out, and obviously, a lot of gang violence and stuff like that too. And that is why then Nacho tells Gus in this next scene where they meet at this warehouse. So Nacho tells him that the brothers went back down south until the heat dies down, right? And that they wiped out the whole other group. So he says, yeah, it was successful. So the brothers are going to be back down south for a bit, I would think. I don't know, a considerable amount of time, because this is a pretty big event. That's a lot of people that they just killed, murdered, and obviously the police are going to be on the lookout. As long as they're in Mexico, though, they're pretty much safe. They're not going to be, they're not going to be touched. So yeah, but they should be gone for at least the next couple episodes, I would think. Maybe even the next few. We may not see them, even closer to the finale then of season 4. But this was a really great way to kind of send them off for the next few episodes, for sure. Anyways, so he tells Gus the brothers went back down south. They wiped out the other group. And as Nacho is kind of telling Gus this news, he's kind of figuring out Gus's plan here, right? And it's to gain that territory back, right? And so Nacho is like starting to figure this out. Nacho has always been one of the smarter guys involved in this kind of, business. Do you know what I mean? And so, him being able to kind of figure out Gus's moves here was really, it made a lot of sense. It was really interesting. And so then Gus tells him, he doesn't even answer him, right? He doesn't, tell him if he's right or not. He just says, get some rest. You have more to do. And he walks off. So, that right there is obviously, that's just Gus, right? Get some rest. You have more to do. And so I do think that Nacho's kind of figuring stuff out here. And I don't know. I mean, he's not in Breaking Bad, so we know something's got to happen to him. But I really like to see him being on Gus's team for the next, even couple seasons. Like, that would be really cool, because I think he would really fit well with that. And honestly, I think he would maybe even be kind of like a shadow Gus, if you know what I mean. Like, he has the same kind of intelligence, the same kind of tactics as Gus does. And I really think that he could. Now, I don't know if he has the professional side of him quite that Gus does. No one is able to do that the same way. But I kind of do see a little bit of Gus in Nacho. So maybe that will develop. I'm not sure. Anyways, so then we see Mike in this therapy session, right? So he exposes this man in front of everybody at this session. Right? And so he proves it. He proves that the wife never even existed. And I didn't really get this part. When the guy walks out, he basically shames everyone there that believed his stories. And he says, you guys are just telling sob stories in here, and that's why you were believing his and stuff like that. But, why is he shaming all these people? I mean, why is he mad at these people for believing it? I didn't really understand that part. So that's another confusing part of this episode. And only Mike would do something like that, right? Like, only he would be the one to expose a guy telling a lie at a therapy session, right? Like, only Mike would do that. So that was, very interesting there. And honestly, again, though, my question is, why the hell would that guy do that anyways? Like, what is that accomplishing? I mean, is this guy kind of like psycho? Like, he likes to feed on, sad people? And like wants sympathy from people and attention, maybe. I guess that might be it. and maybe you don't have to be like psychopathic for that, but he is kind of a weird guy. If he's going to these therapy sessions and he's like wasting his own time making up these lies, I just really don't understand it. So anyways, Mike exposes his ass, and he will not be back, I don't think. He'll be embarrassed. And anyways, so Mike was right. He's getting that $10 from that other lady. Then we see Nacho. He goes back to his dad's place. I really love this relationship between Nacho and his dad. One of the best, ongoing relationships, I think, in the show. And Nacho asks if he can stay a while and rest, right? And his dad's about to call 911. Right? And so then Nacho tells him, if you call, I'm not going to be safe, right? And even though his dad wants him out, and he's not, he doesn't really like him right now, he doesn't want to be around him, he hangs up the phone. He doesn't tell Nacho and kind of turn him in to the hospital and kind of, well, to the government, per se. And so he hangs up the phone and lets Nacho stay with him. So really great ongoing dynamic here between him and his father. I do really think it's one of the best relationships on the show. I also do think, though, that this scene hints at Nacho not being in much of the next few episodes. I think he's going to take a little bit of a kind of a fade into the background a little bit. He might have a scene or two in the next couple episodes, but I think that'll be just about it because, Gus says, rest up, you have more to do. Then he says to his dad, I just want to rest. So I think he's going to be, kind of fading here, and he's not going to have as big of a part. He's just kind of going to be chilling, not really, but, just kind of resting at his dad's house, getting back to full health, and then he can help out Gus further. So, anyways, and that's kind of his role in life right now, is basically to help out Gus. So, anyways. Okay, so Mike then is doing his thing at Madrigal. This, again, one of my favorite parts of the episode, just being a real ass, right? Like, to everyone there, especially to the guy working there who's kind of shadowing him, right? And so Mike's just telling about every little thing they're doing wrong, right? The one box says don't stack, and it's stacked on the other box, and all of this stuff. So, typical things that, companies would always do. And he's like, this is wrong. You got to fix this and everything like that, right? So that's just Mike being Mike, being that guy. And so then he actually gets a call at Madrigal from a guy. I don't know who it is, but I think it is Victor. And he's saying that he wants to see you. So I just love that. And like, us as viewers know that he's talking about Gus, right? Like, we hear he wants to see you, we know it's Gus wants to see you. So I just really like the way that they kind of play that off. And Mike knew too right away it was Gus. So he knows what he's, Gus knows what he's up to, and he wants to talk. So then at the very end of the episode here, Jimmy goes and collects money from Ira, right? More than he expected. So Ira actually gets more money for him than they originally bargained for. And then Ira and him seem to have made a good deal on that doll, right? And Ira says, I'm interested if you have more stuff, right? And so they might work together again. So very interesting then. So obviously we know Ira's in Breaking Bad, and Jimmy uses him then. So it should be interesting to see. Are we gonna see that kind of partnership continue? Gonna be cool. So then Jimmy uses actually what Ira says to him as kind of a slogan for the shop there where he is, and puts that on the glass at the store. Is the man listening? Privacy sold here. And so that's exactly what Ira, he said, is the man listening to Jimmy in that conversation. So hopefully Jimmy's going to get some more customers with doing that little slogan on the glass. Anything, right? He's going to do anything to get more customers at this point. So that should be interesting. We'll see. I don't know how long he'll stick at that CC Mobile job. I don't think very long, but maybe it might happen. And he's just wanting more customers, and he wants to do something. And so maybe that'll work. Anyways, so then Mike meets with Gus, very end of the episode here. So at that Los Polos Hermanos factory, same setting as the episode 2 ending, really great stuff here. So Gus is immediately just mad at him, right? Really angry at him for not telling about Nacho. And it just feels like kind of a sudden thing because, you've had a few days that you knew Nacho was lying to you. So why didn't you ask Mike then, right? So this just feels, you can already kind of feel, it's like, why are you only mad at him now? And why do you only call to talk to him now, right? And so Mike sees right through it, right? Like, he sees right through it the whole time. And he talks back to Gus. Not many characters do that in the show. Walter does it, I guess, in Breaking Bad. But Better Call Saul, not many people. Not many people are going to be talking back to Gus. And Mike does it, fearlessly. He is such a badass, honestly. I love Mike. So he recognizes that Gus's men aren't going to do anything to him, right? Because Gus wants him to do a job, and that is why he called him there, and that's why he's suddenly mad at him, right? So that's really the only reason that he wants Mike there, and that he was, talking to him and whatever. And so then Mike says, "Why don't you stop running a game on me and just tell me about the job?" And that is how the episode ends. So, and the face that the look on the face of Gus too, in that moment of Mike saying that, I think Gus kind of likes it. I think he likes somebody talking back to him, right? Like, not many people have the balls to do that, and I think Gus recognizes that from Mike, and that's why he likes Mike so much, right? Is because he's, kind of, fearless. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really care at all, and I think Gus kind of appreciates that in Mike. So, anyways, really, really great to see Mike and Gus kind of working together again. I love it. Really liked Mike in this whole episode. He was really, really great. So, anyway, so it should be interesting. What will the job be? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I'm looking forward to it, regardless. I think it's going to be awesome. So anyways, that is where the episode ends. Alright, so in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.6 out of 5. I believe last week we gave 4.7, and the week before that 4.8. So yeah, a little bit worse than last week's episode. And I'd say 2 notches down from episode 2. But still a really great episode. So Mike in this whole episode was awesome. I mean, the whole thing about him exposing this guy at this therapy session, and then Gus calls him, and he's at Madrigal doing his thing. So just a really, really great episode for Mike, kind of starring in this one. And yeah, so just really great to see him back, and I was harping on that the last couple weeks. I knew that something was up. I knew that we had to get an episode like this with him being in it. After the first 3 episodes, he wasn't in much of those. So it was really great to see him again. So of course, Vince Gilligan, Peter Gould never let me down. Of course, they come through, and Mike has a really great episode this week, so that was good. And so this is what I want to say quickly about the Nacho storyline. I just feel like it's kind of dragged out a bit. Now, only in this episode, I would say. Like, this episode is kind of when I realized it a little bit more. I don't know. It just feels really dragged out. I mean, this whole thing about Gus figuring him out. And they have, spent, 2 episodes, the better part of 2 episodes, covering up, this thing that they killed Arturo. And then Nacho, of course, lies about it and says that, this other group killed them, right? And so they basically have spent the better part of 2 episodes now covering up this whole story and making the Salamancas believe that Nacho, didn't do it. And I don't know. I just felt like, I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of dragging on a bit. Like, last episode, it was kind of cool to see, right? Covering that up. And that whole scene at the very beginning, sprinkling the headlights on the street, that was really awesome and really well done. But this episode, I just felt like it dragged on a little bit. And the whole thing with Gus meeting up with Nacho again, and then saying, you've more to do and stuff. I don't know. I guess I didn't mind that scene. I don't know. I guess I didn't mind that scene. But I just thought, and it was a really great action scene, right? Like, it was a really great scene with the brothers. I just felt like it, I don't know. I don't know. I guess we did need to see the kind of scene this episode that played out with the brothers, but I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of dragged out a bit. I don't know. I don't know. I do enjoy it. I just think that there's more potential for Nacho here. Like, instead of now him being wounded, and I don't think he'll be in the next couple episodes as much, or, maybe they'll skip a little bit of time so he'll be, kind of rested more. And I just feel like there's a lot more potential for Nacho this scene now with his whole storyline. And now for the next couple episodes, if I'm right, he's not going to be in much of them, and he's not going to have as big of a part now. So, I don't know. For that reason, I feel like it's a little bit dragged out at this point. But it's Gus. I think it's really just showing us how smart Gus is, and how many moves ahead he is of everyone, pretty much all times in the last few episodes, or just in this season so far. So, yeah, really great stuff there. But yeah, really great action sequence. Best scene of the episode in my opinion for this week. Really great. And the Mike meeting Gus. That was probably, a close second. That was a nice scene too. So anyways, really great episode though in all. And I'm really looking forward to where Mike is going to go here, and that job with Gus, what is that going to be? I really would like to see that continue with Mike doing jobs for Gus rather than kind of just under Gus at Madrigal, you know what I mean? So him being closer to Gus, I think would be really cool. And Jimmy, is he going to stick around with that job? Is he going to be able to get some more customers and kind of flourish? I kind of feel like next episode they're going to do like a montage of like there being a line out the door of that CC Mobile location because Jimmy did something, to get customers. So I totally see that coming. And if I call that, I swear, like I'm going to be so happy. But anyways, so yeah, we'll have to see with that one. Favorite character for this one is going to be Mike Ehrmantraut, of course, played by Jonathan Banks. Really, really great job. Jonathan Banks doing an amazing job. And I say this for every actor. Well, not Michael Mando because he's new for Better Call Saul. But you get Bob Odenkirk, Giancarlo Esposito, and now Jonathan Banks. The ability to do what they did in Breaking Bad, right? And then now it's been, I think it's been like 6 years now since Breaking Bad ended and their characters have ended. To be able to capture that same character and maybe even better than it was in Breaking Bad, 6 years later now in Better Call Saul, it's crazy. It's crazy. And of course the writers, have some to do with that. They do a really great job, but the actors ultimately are really, really, it's phenomenal the way they're able to portray these characters, and really great job. So anyways, Mike, going to be interested to see where he goes forward, and I'm really happy to see him back in more of the episode this week. Jonathan Banks doing an amazing job as always. So anyways, guys, that'll just about do it for the review for this episode this week. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you guys tune in each week here. Tuesday and Wednesday is going to try to get these reviews up for Better Call Saul. Looking forward to the rest of the season. I still think that this season has been the best so far, even in just the first 4 episodes. I think it's really, really great, and I think the rest of the season is going to be awesome. So anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support on the channel recently. Really, really do appreciate it. We're over 70,000 video views now, so really crazy stuff. 165 subscribers, I think, at the time making this video, so can't thank you guys enough for that. But anyways, we'll see you next week for Better Call Saul Season 4, Episode 5.
To shut out feeling lonely.